Good morning, students. Today we will do the third section of Unit 3, that is The Folk. This poem is written by W.H. Davies. W.H. Davies was a Welsh poet and writer. His full name is William Henry Davies. He was born on 3rd July 1871 and died on 26th September 1940. Davies spent a significant part of his life tramp or hobo in the United Kingdom and United States, but he became one of the most popular poets of his time. His works include A Poet's Pilgrimage, The Autobiography of a Supertramp. The poems are A Fleeting Passion, A Great Time, A May Morning, A Plain Life, etc. In this poem, the poet finds himself in a fog so thick that he is disoriented and cannot find his way home. He is then helped by a man who promised to take him home. Once the poet got home, he realizes that the man who had led him home was blind. On a more abstract level, the poet may be about how people trust only what they can literally see and lack awareness of things unseen, such as faith, belief, religion, etc. The title of the poem is The Fog. You know what fog is. Fog is a thick cloud-like condition of the air which makes it impossible to see clearly. So now let us read the poem. I saw the fog grow thick, which soon made blind my ken. It made tall men of boys and giants of tall men. It clutched my throat. I coughed. Nothing was in my head except two heavy eyes like balls of burning lead. And when it grew so black that I could know no place, I lost all judgment then of distance and of space. The street lamps and the lights upon the halted cars could either be on earth or be the heavenly stars. A man passed by me close. I asked my way, and he said, "Come, follow me, my friend." I followed where he led. He rapped the stones in front. "Trust me," he said, "and come." I followed like a child. A blind man led me home. W.H. Davies. So students, this is a short poem written by W.H. Davies. Now let us read the first stanza and we'll explain it to you in details. I saw the fog grow thick, which soon made blind my ken. It made tall men of boys and giants of tall men. Now here the word ken means senses. Here the poet says that he saw the fog growing enormously heavy, and soon this fog blinded the poet's senses. The fog made the poet blind, and it made the boys appear to be tall men and tall men like giants. Everyone feels taller and bigger in fog. So, under the effect of this thick fog, the poets saw everything bigger than they used to be. Small boys appeared like tall men, and tall men appeared like giants. Now, let us read the second stanza. It clenched my throat. I coughed. Nothing was in my head except two heavy eyes like balls of burning lead. So, the fog had its effect on him. He felt like being choked, so he coughed and his head seemed empty. Yet he could feel his eyes very heavy and hot now. He could feel the heat of his eyes. So, what clutched the poet's throat? Fog clutched the poet's throat, and the heavy fog thickened around the poet's sensitive throat, so he felt like being clutched by the fog. Now, here there is a poetic device of personification. That is, fog is given the human quality of clutching. As caught in a heavily laden fog, the poet felt his head empty. First, he had a loss of vision, and gradually, his throat. Here, the line, "Nothing was in my head," means he could not think or remember anything except two heavy eyes. That means like balls of burning lead. This means that he could just see, that's all. Now come to the third stanza. And when it grew so black that I could know no place, I lost all judgment then, or distance, or of space. The word judgment means mental ability to decide or judge one's own surroundings. And the first line of the first stanza, and when it grew so black, means the burning eyes burnt out and the poet was blind now. I lost all judgment then means the poet was not able to find his way or directions or and the distance to his home. So the red hot light in his eyes was now gone. It was dark. So he lost the direction, track, and he was not able to decide where he should move and where not. He was not having any idea of how much he has covered the distance and how much he had to cover. The street lamps and the lights upon the halted cars could either be on earth or be the heavenly stars. The word street lamps means the poet could not recognize if the glint of light was from the street lamps or from the stars. There were street lamps, and the light fell upon the halted cars. But he could not say whether these lights are from the real lamps or from the stars in the sky. Now come to the fifth stanza. A man passed by me closed. I asked my way, he said. Come, follow me, my friend. I followed where he led. In this stanza, the poet tells us that while he was traveling, he saw a stranger, and the stranger offered to help him. The stranger told him to follow him, and he followed him where he led, without suspecting him. Now come to the sixth stanza. He rapped the stones in front. Trust me, he said, and come. I followed like a child. A blind man led me home. In this stanza, finally they reached home, and the man rapped on the walls of a stone hut. And he asked the poet to follow him, to trust and follow him into the stone hut. And he followed him like a child without doubting anything. And when he reached there inside the hut, he realized that the man who led him was a blind man. So here we come to the end of the poem. This poem talks about the incident where the poet gets disoriented in a thick fog and cannot find his way home. A man whom he meets on the road offers him help, but when they reach the destiny, his home, he realized that the man who led him was a blind man. This discovery makes him realize that we, as human beings, trust only those things with us which are seen and questions those unseen things like love, belief, religion, faith, etc. So, students, that's all for today's class.